Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. Another Gimmal education session, and my name is Marcia Shields. I'm from our customer success team. Our goal for these sessions is to enhance your expertise with your Gimmal software. As you heard, we are recording this session and we will share it after the event. With me today is Jeff Tuish. Jeff is going to be our subject matter expert for Gimmal Discover, and he's going to be talking about Discover's ability for report building and the advanced options available. We'll be sticking with the same format, which will be about 15 to 20 minutes of product demonstration and Jeff's discussion, followed by 10 minutes for any of your questions. If you do have questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A area, which is at the bottom of your Zoom bar, and I'll be sure to tee those up for Jeff once he's finished. Okay, first, before I let Jeff do his thing, quick question for you all. So we're hoping to get your insights. What software are you using currently to generate data visualization reports? That run for just a minute. Our options are Microsoft Power BI, Tableau, Microsoft Excel, or other or none. So, okay. Well, thank you for answering that. Seems to be that other or none is the winner, Jeff, just so you know. I think that's going to be appropriate for today. So that's all I have, Jeff. I'm going to hand things over to you.
Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You should be seeing that momentarily. And you should be seeing it, do you?
I do not.
Ah, you do not. Well, that's special. Let's try that again. How about now?
Yes, sir. There you go.
Okay. So you should be seeing the workflow builder right now?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and get the PowerPoint set up here. Let me go ahead and get this working. All right, there we are. Okay, so as Marcia said, we're going to go through Gimmal Discover and reports. We're going to do this a little bit differently than I normally do. Usually it's only slides. We're going to jump around inside the product just to give you some insight on the slides I'm talking about. So hopefully it'll give you some reference to what we're doing. So the whole point of this is for data governance, to be able to produce reports in data governance. We do have the 3 modules, the other 2 being classification, e-discovery. E-discovery obviously used for searches, and classification cannot produce reports. So all the report generation is done within the data governance module. So first thing we're going to talk about is how to do a set values. So what does set values do for you? Well, what it does, and you'll see the options we have here, is that it goes through and creates an array in memory. So basically just a table in memory. And as we process each data item, like in this case, a message, we're going to add particular column values to a row in that table. And then at the end, we're going to save that set values with an action called save list. So what the set values does, it allows you to be able to, as you see here on the right side of this screen, is to produce a column header like I have for mailbox, folder, subject, what have you, and then followed up by values that are what we call tokens. So this is where I'm going to escape out of that, and I'm going to bring up a set values. We're going to go for the one for messages. At least I think it came over to the wrong screen. There we go. So here's the option. Sorry, I'm bouncing screens around on here. I went through and did this. So the way you do this, you click on the plus sign, you put in your column header like I have here for the value, and then you click on tokens, which once again I have to drag over. So here are your tokens that you have available. So for email, it's going to be everything from this point down. Everything about the mailbox, about the folder, and about the messages. Obviously, the tokens are going to change depending on the data source. File shares will have different tokens in SharePoint, what have you. But these are the values, and they're pretty self-explanatory on what they're representing. And then they just add those in to create the set values. So let me go back to the slide and go ahead and get that cooking back. Sorry about that. We're jumping all over the place here. All right. Next, we have the save list. What save list does, it's going to take that array and then save it. So what can we do inside of there? Well, you're going to see that I can create a report inside of Discover I can also email it if I want to email the report. So I can do that, and we see that in typically you're going to find that in the root sequence. Let me cancel out of all these. And this is where we do the save list. So we have some options in the report. Drag that over. And we're going to see that I can give it a report title. Do I want a new report? And then I have some choices. I can actually notify and save the report and notify an owner about it. So you have some ways of actually interacting with the users or the data owner as you go through and create these reports. So your choices would be have it be emailed and or have it created in Discover. It's always going to be created in Discover. It's whether or not you want to email it. So that is an option for you if you want to do that. So that's what Save List does. The next slide, as I keep going back and forth here, is to save list and group values. So what's the difference? Well, what this one does for you, it allows you to categorize values. And you're going to see here, we're going to look right at the slide. So it's saying I have a list called mailboxes. So when I create the set values, I have to name the array, and I named it in this choice. I named it mailboxes. Pardon me. And then you're going to see some options. But the first one is, how do you want to do this? So I want to create summary statistics on the mailbox and the match column. And I'm going to show you that report in a sec. So what that means is that I want to know how many matches we had per keyword per mailbox. So it's going to give me some insight on the keyword matches in this case. But I also want to show how many messages for each one of the keywords in mailbox and give me a total of the size for that as well. So what does that look like? So now I'm going to jump over and get into Discover. And we have a summary report already made up, and here you see it. So we have Chandler Bing, and we have the word iron. We have Chandler Bing and driver. Notice I'm a little golf-centric here, but it's given me summary statistics. So instead of listing out every file and having to export this and do something else with it, I can actually summarize the data right here. And like in this case, driver was the most prolific keyword found. And then here's the total size. And notice I actually chose an option in the set values to convert those. We're going to be talking more about the workflow editor. So for those of you saying, hey, how did you get this far? We're trying to whet your appetites here a little bit with showing how to do reports. But my next 2 education sessions after this, and possibly 3, will be on the workflow editor. We've had a lot of people query that saying, how do I make workflows and how do they work? And that's what I'm going to be covering. So the next one we have is going to be, and we'll be showing that at the end with the education sessions coming up. But the first one's going to be the basic building blocks for making a workflow. And then in the second session, I'm going to jump into some advanced stuff that you can do as well. So fret not, you will eventually see that. Okay, let's go back over to the current slide. And here we are. There is the values I gave it. And we saw the report. So once again, here is the report from the saved list. And what I did on this one is I'm listing every email that I found and the particular metadata that I want to include. So what folder that I found it in Chandler's mailbox, what was the subject line, the sender, when was it sent, received, the size, and the match. So those 2, notice once again, I can have those in there. Now, if you don't want, if you're doing a sensitive data find, looking for things that maybe are contractual or proprietary, whatever they might be, you don't have to have a match column. Any one of these columns are completely an option for you. You do not have to do that. I chose to do it just so I could show you the process of the group values, but you can include even the match values that you found inside of here. In fact, if I go down, here is the report that I just showed you inside of Gimmal Discover. So where you'll find that, first off, I'm going to go back one slide. Notice this one is under reports, policy reports, and then the next one is under summary reports. A policy report will always be created even when you make a summary report. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go back into policy reports, and I'm going to open up the one for the summary, and notice what I have in here. All I have is the mailbox name, the match, and look at the number of messages. Look what that has in it. That looks confusing. And the reason why it's confusing is because I'm not putting a 1 in here and totaling those. I'm saying that I want to put in a value and then have Discover count those. So how did we get back there? Now I'm going to go back to the slides again. Sorry for the bounce back and forth. And I'm going to go back up and show you that right here, I said, I want to count the number of messages. It doesn't have to be a numeric value in that column. I want to count how many matches we have for these two, but I want to sum the size. So that's how we got here, was going through and counting these and accumulating or incrementing these as we went. So that's the report. So now you say, okay, we had that poll question. What do you do with your data? Well, one of the things you can do is you can export a report. You can export it either at the report level by opening it, or you could actually export it at the list of reports. So back again we go, back out to Discover. So I could have said right here that I want to export. So if I don't want to open it first, I don't have to, or I can have it open and export it here. So either way you can export it. All are under the common export to CSV. So that gives you a CSV file that what can you do with it? So what you can do with it is, I have become a big advocate of Power BI. I love putting things into Power BI and being able to do something with it, but obviously you can put into Excel. If you have the ability of doing programming and you want to read that CSV and do something else with it, obviously any text-based editor can also open those CSV files. So it just gives you the ability to actually take this data out of Discover and be able to use it in something else like Power BI. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is allow partial results. You're probably thinking, how do I see that? So now that I talked about it, let me go back over to the workflow editor, and I have to go to the root sequence to the start button and click on it. Go all the way over to the right, and you'll see a button that says workflow. Click on that, and you'll see allow partial results. So what does that do for you? Okay, I'm going to bounce back over to this and give you some idea. What it does is, let's say that we're processing 5,000 mailboxes with a policy. As we're building that array in memory, if I do not select allow partial results, once again, check marked here, what that's going to do is for all 5,000 mailboxes, it's going to keep building that array. Well, there's only so much memory on the VMs where Discover's being hosted. So what could very easily happen is we run out of memory, or we're also taking a lot of time up to do. So what does this do for us? What this does is saying, as you process each mailbox, write it out to a file, get it out of memory. So this way now we have all that, and at the end, we'll go read that file to be able to produce the reports. So I always recommend turn on allow partial results at all times. It's going to save you having to find out in 3 days later that you ran out of memory, because you could produce some reports that can have millions of lines in them. If we're looking for emails between particular dates and they're 5 years apart, Lord knows how many messages you're going to find. So you make sure that you have the allow partial results on. Very important to put that on. It is not on by default, by the way. So that is something you have to intentionally turn on. Okay, what other ways do we have of notifying somebody about something that happened in Discover? Well, one of the options is to post a message to the store. So once again, I'm going to leave this, go back to the workflow editor, and I'm going to look at the mailbox level, because this is unique, and you're going to see that on the slide when I go back into it. It's only for Microsoft Archives and mailboxes and PST files. It's only for message-based data sources, because what this does is it allows us to post a message to the store, exactly what it sounds like. So it's saying, what do you want to do? Well, I want to go ahead and I want to put the message that I'm posting into the inbox. Notice the preceding backslash. Every Exchange folder starts with the backslash. Always prepend that to the name of the folder. Here's my subject that I want to call for the particular email. Here is the body of the message that I'm putting in here. So basically I'm telling them, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to be deleting messages out of your inbox. So this is a really great thing to notify people that they're doing. But the irony is we're giving them a message in their mailbox to tell them that we've deleted their messages. So a lot of people don't do this, but if you have a cultural, political need to allow the user to know that you did manage their data, this is a great way of doing that. So once again, this is the post message to store. All right, back to the slideshow. And that's post message. Once again, you'll see your particular data tabs here that you have. And then we go to the save list to store. Well, what's the difference with that? Well, the post message is going to the person's mailbox that's being processed. The save list to store, now we're actually going out and saving a report to that. So we're not, the other one is basically the text is going to be something that you generate, whereas the save list to store is going to be something that is system generated. So here we go to this, and I'm saying that I want to use that workflow list called messages. Once again, going back over to the set values, I called that messages, and there's my 11 columns. I want to save this using that report, and I had the choices. What is the report going to be called? So basically the subject, do I want to email this? Yes, I do. So now this is where you can go out, put in the email addresses. So this can be multiple addresses. And then you can put the subject line, which this is the report name. This is the subject line. And then you have the choice of being either CSV or HTML. So it's your call. If you want it to be a CSV file that somebody can then take and put it into Power BI, you can do that. Or if you want an HTML where they actually open up the message and see the report directly within their email, then that's what you would choose for that. So it's a nice option if you do need, once again, to be able to show that value in an email as opposed to just in Discover. That is what I wanted to talk about regarding all the reporting options you have. Once again, I did the reports as well as any way that you can notify anybody in the company about what you're doing to them. But keep in mind, once again, that post message to store is only for Exchange mailboxes, archives, and PSD files. That doesn't work for OneDrive because there's no email store that we're updating that message to. Marcia, that's all I have for my presentation on reports.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Good stuff. We do have a few questions.
Okay.
Stick around. This kind of goes on what you were just saying, but the question was, can reports be shared, but with people who don't have access to Discover?
Yes, they can be. So that whole, in fact, I can go back slide. For this save list to store with, you have the ability, actually, let me go into this. This would be better. So let's go back to the mailbox. And this is where we can actually send it out or store it out if you want to save the list, or back here. And as well, you can also email on this, the report, which is the one we find the most common, is I want to send this report off to whoever it might be. And once again, you have control over the recipients.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
Another question is, can multiple reports be generated in one workflow?
You can. In fact, that's what I'm doing here. So the first one I'm doing is for the save list and group values, the summary that we saw. And then I'm doing another one for the list of every message that we have. So this is a detailed report, whereas this one is a summary report. So yes, you can definitely generate them. Notice that I have different names for those. And I just do this, the typical box. By the way, you would do an add step action, and I'll bring that over to this screen and do a set values. I always change the label so I know if somebody else comes behind me, they have a little bit of context on what the heck I'm doing. Plus, it's nice for me to know when I go in here, which one am I dealing with? So that's just me, but by default, you're only going to see this label up there.
Okay. All right. Another one is, can reports be created for every data that Discover supports and processes?
Yes. So you can do a report for anything. And let's see if we can go find those real quick. So if I go to home, we're going to do a little ad hoc here. If I go to data sources, these are the data sources going to be displayed here that Discover can manage. So any one of these you see here can have a report produced for it, including, for those of you who don't know, Windows file path. That is not only for Windows file shares, but also for endpoints, both for Mac and Windows. So I'm talking laptops, desktops. So those kind of reports can be generated for those data sources as well.
Great. And then one last question.
Okay.
How long are reports typically kept?
Oh, good question. So inside of I'm going over to the purple gears over here in the top right, if you're seeing my mouse move. And inside of that, and this is for the people who have admin rights to Discover, there's going to be an administrative tab. And down below, if you scroll down a little bit on the left-hand side, you're going to see you have the ability to say how long reports are kept, and also actually how long logs are kept. So these two things will be pruned automatically by Discover based upon the threshold that you set here. Keep in mind, these are going to expire eventually. So if you want to keep them, export them, because that way you're getting them out of Discover and you have them more permanently.
That wraps up the questions, Jeff. So
Great.
we can throw up the schedule.
Coming back at you.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for everybody. That's a wrap for today's show, but thank you, Jeff, putting this up. We appreciate you attending. Again, we recorded this and we will be sending the recording out so you can review. I know this particular topic is sometimes challenging in doing reports. So if you feel like you need some one-on-one help, please reach out to myself. I can pull Jeff in or some of the other support people if you want a little bit of help, maybe getting ideas or tailoring reports for yourself. But in any case, so as a reminder, these education sessions are offered twice per month across our Gimmal Discover, Gimmal Records, and Gimmal Physical products. This is the upcoming schedule. And the next Gimmal Discover one, Jeff mentioned earlier, he's going to be really digging more into the workflow builder. It's a very powerful tool. And so therefore it's going to be a series, like Jeff said, probably 2, maybe 3. We will see how much road we cover there. If you have any questions or ideas for future topics and education sessions you would like to see, please email those to myself. And other than that, we appreciate you joining. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.